Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this live audio coverage of this Premier League clash emanating from Selhurst Park. It is Crystal Palace playing host to Everton. My name is Jay Cooper, and I will be your commentator for the next 2 hours or so to run you through the action from London this afternoon. And we'll begin with the starting 11 and benches for both teams, looking first to the hosts, Crystal Palace. They make two changes to the team that most recently secured their first ever European final by defeating Shakhtar Donetsk 2-1 on home soil, 5-2 on aggregate. The captain Dean Henderson retains his place in goal with an unchanged back five of Daniel Munoz, Chris Richards, Maxence Lacroix, JD Canvo and Tyrick Mitchell. The midfield two are also as they were, with Adam Wharton partnering up with Daichi Kamada, and the front three is where we see the changes come into effect. Brennan Johnson and Jurgen Strand-Larsen brought in ahead of Yeremy Pino, and Jean-Philippe Mateta. Ismail Assar retained his place. On the bench, beginning with the goalkeeper, in ascending shirt number order, we have Walter Benitez, Jefferson Lerma, Yeremy Pino, Jean-Philippe Mateta, Nathaniel Klein, Will Hughes, Chadi Riyad, Justin Devaney and Rio Cardinez. For this Everton team fielded by David Moyes, it is a complete mirror of the side that took to the field at the Hill Dickinson Stadium in their most recent match. A thrilling 3-3 draw that came right down to the wire, with championship chasing Manchester City. Jordan Pickford keeps his place in goal with a back four of Jake O'Brien, the captain James Tarkowski, Michael Keane and Vitaly Mikalenko. Tim Irigburn partners James Garner in defensive midfield, with Merlin Roll on the right, Iliman and Jai the left, Kiernan Dewsbury Hall through the middle and the lone striker Beto. On the bench, beginning with the goalkeeper, in ascending shirt number order, we have Mark Travers, Nathan Patterson, Dwight McNeil, Tierno Barry, Tyrick George, Tyler Dibbling, Seamus Coleman, Charlie Alcaraz and Harrison Armstrong. Well, despite there only being 5 points between these two teams in the Premier League table, it is a tale of two very different seasons. Crystal Palace currently still technically not safe in the Premier League this season, but maximum points today on home soil against Everton would confirm their place in the Premier League for yet another season. Of course, last time around they finished 12th again, but who cared, because they won the FA Cup and qualified for European football for the first time, and that has been where their attention has been drawn to throughout the campaign. They will face in the Conference League final, the UEFA Europa Conference League final, their first ever major European final. They will come up against Rayo Vallecano in that final, just to confirm that is the case for you, at the culmination of this season that they have enjoyed. It will be, of course, Oliver Glasner's very last game as well, in charge of Crystal Palace as well, as he has announced that he is to depart from Selhurst Park. For Everton, by contrast, they still have one eye on the European competition places in the Premier League. Currently just 5 points behind Brighton in 7th, which is the UEFA Europa Conference League spot. But given how Crystal Palace are faring in the Conference League, how Aston Villa have fared in the Europa League as well, making it to a final where they will face German side Freiburg, the European places in the Premier League could expand well beyond just 7th place Brighton at this stage. These two teams have, of course, met once already in this season, a game that finished 2-1 to Everton at the Hill Dickinson Stadium. Iliman and Jai, who scored on the day, is on the team sheet this afternoon for David Moyes' team. Jack Grealish, the man who got the winner in the dying embers, injured and unable to feature for the Toffees this afternoon. Daniel Munoz, who scored for Crystal Palace in the early stages of that match, is on the pitch this afternoon. This will be the 66th competitive game between these two teams and the 34th competitive game in the Premier League since the rebrand in 1992. And it's the opportunity for Crystal Palace to record their 16th ever win against Everton, with Everton hoping to make it 30 against Palace. That leaves 21 draws for the games already played for the mathematicians amongst you. And there's a handful of interesting individuals worth mentioning in the stands this afternoon at Selhurst Park. Chief amongst them, the England manager, Mr. Thomas Tuchel, coming to see how some of his potential players at this summer's World Cup will fare this afternoon, including the likes of Jordan Pickford, Dean Henderson battling for the number 1 shirt for the national team, as well as Tyrick Mitchell, Adam Wharton for the hosts Crystal Palace. Maybe James Tarkowski, James Garner, Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall for the visitors. We're underway then in this Premier League clash at Selhurst Park. It is Everton who get us kicked off in the white shirts, or the cream shirts rather. It's fairly hard to distinguish, there's a tint to it, with the black shorts and the shirt coloured socks as well. I'll be safe with my descriptions. Crystal Palace, of course, in their home kit in the very classic red and blue striped shirts, the blue shorts and the white and blue striped socks. And Everton are wasting very little time hoarding the ball inside of the Crystal Palace half of the pitch. Here is James Garner on the right hand side, and he does go backwards to the edge of the centre circle, where he finds his captain for the afternoon in James Tarkowski. The Everton club captain, Seamus Coleman, has been for so many years on the bench this afternoon. He will inherit the armband should his presence be needed for David Moyes' visitors. Right the way back now, Everton go to their own goalkeeper in Jordan Pickford. Now it's into the midfield area for Garner and Irag Burnham. Out to right of centre, where Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall makes himself available, and now will go on the run for the return pass from Tarkowski. It's not very well dealt with by Crystal Palace. Beto holds it up long enough for Dewsbury-Hall to pick up the pieces. Now here is Iliman Ndiaye. Out to the left hand side. Everton moving forward now through the gears. It's Mykolenko backwards to Irag Burnham. Now Garner again. Now Ndiaye again on the left hand side, trying to make space for the delivery, running backwards as he runs towards the centre of the field as well. Garner and Dewsbury-Hall all having a piece of this build-up play for the Toffees. Tim Irag Burnham. Mykolenko back to Garner. Garner with a smart forward ball, laid off by Ndiaye, held up by Dewsbury-Hall, still on the left-hand side of the pitch. Ndiaye with some fancy footwork. Now here goes Dewsbury-Hall into the middle of the penalty area, and Daniel Munoz gets in his way, separates the man from the ball, and makes the clearance out for a throw level with the edge of the Palace penalty area. Some early defending for the Eagles to do on home soil, backed by a very, very loud home crowd who will be as invigorated as ever, given the success of Crystal Palace midweek in qualifying for that first ever European final. Long throw then for Everton from the left-hand side by Mykolenko. Return to sender. Delivery back into the middle by Mykolenko. Up goes Beto for the header. He's unable to get much purchase on it, and the chase is on now for Roll down the right-hand side. He's not going to reach it before it goes out of play, and Crystal Palace have a throw from level with the edge of their own penalty area on the left. An opportunity to get the ball away without much impediment from the Everton forward line. Making their intentions felt in the opening 3 minutes of this game are David Moyes' side. It is the latter stages of games recently that have been giving Everton trouble. They became the first team in a very long time indeed to drop points in the added time sections of 3 straight games, following their draw against Manchester City, in which they conceded in minute number 98 to Yeremi Doku, as well as the defeat to West Ham prior to that. They conceded late to Callum Wilson, and then finally the one that arguably hurt the most is that goal that was conceded to Liverpool in the derby. But here they come now. They're looking to strike early down the right. It's Roll trading passes with Beto, who has his pocket picked inside the penalty area, unable to get the ball out of his feet in time to get the shot away. But the Crystal Palace intervention on that attacking opportunity for Everton is going to bring us the first corner of the game. It was Lacroix who got in between Beto and the ball. Some more defending for Palace to do. They're really putting on the pressure early, are Everton. It'll be a corner from the right hand side, left-footed delivery to come from Vitaly Mykolenko towards Beto at the near corner, not conclusively dealt with. Garner tries to keep it alive on the edge of the box, and it's going to be chased down now by Tarkowski in a crossing position. Tarkowski to Ndiaye, who turns well with the first touch. Ndiaye getting to the edge of the D, able to lay it off now to Jake O'Brien. A goal scorer in that 3-3 draw with Manchester City. Ndiaye now on the right, tries to make space for the cross. It's closed down at source by Mitchell. Another Everton corner. Desperate to strike early in this game are Everton. 5 minutes played. Crystal Palace 0, Everton 0. But Palace, I'm not sure at any point in the opening stretch of this match, have had the ball under their control inside the Everton half, and they've spent a lot of their time defending their own penalty area. They're going to have to do that now as bodies stay forward for the visitors. Left-footed delivery again by Mykolenko. Keane is the target, and at the back post it's Tarkowski. He couldn't miss. The early pressure pays off for Everton. Crystal Palace 0, Everton 1. It's James Tarkowski who pokes home. That is exactly the start that David Moyes was hoping his team would be able to pull off at Selhurst Park. And their early pressure is very much rewarded. Their second corner, a delivery to the near post. Michael Keane hoping for the flick on. I'm not sure if it is him that makes that first contact. But regardless, the ball reaches an unmarked Tarkowski on the corner of the 6-yard area. Dean Henderson preoccupied defending his near post. A very simple tap-in for the Everton skipper. And with any luck, that's a sign of things to come in this game. In all of their last 7 matches that Everton have played, there haven't been any less than 2 goals, and the only one of those games that has had 2 goals in it was a victory over Burnley and a defeat to Arsenal, both of which for the same scoreline at 2-0. Crystal Palace with work to do early on. We've kicked back off now at Selhurst Park, and Kamada has been tripped on the halfway line on the right-hand side of the pitch for Crystal Palace. Free kick opportunity now that will be taken for the Eagles, and it'll be taken from very deep on the right flank as the Everton fans in the away end at Selhurst Park really starting to make noise. It's Brennan Johnson, the Tottenham loanee, who lifts it into the danger area now from the right. Up goes Better with a defensive header, and it's Wharton on the edge of the penalty area. Fancied his chances there. Couldn't get his knee over the ball on the half volley, Adam Wharton. Would have been an absolutely fantastic way to equalise. Cuts across it very well from the edge of the penalty area, left of centre. Just a bit too much height on the strike. Crystal Palace registering a shot at goal, which is more than can be said of everything else that they've done in the early stages of this game. Perhaps that's a warning shot that they're not going to just lie down and let Everton walk all over them as they push towards the potentially expansive European places in the Premier League. On the left-hand side now of the Palace defence, here is JD Canvo, French defender, making himself comfortable amongst that Crystal Palace back 5 this season, in the absence of the likes of Mark Guehi, who departed in January for Manchester City, and Joel Ward, now finished up his career with Crystal Palace, all of whom were part of that team that led them to glory at Wembley last season, overcoming Manchester City as well in the final. A score of 1-0. Eberechi Eze writing his name into Crystal Palace history, even if he did leave for Arsenal in the coming summer. Here's Brennan Johnson now on the left for Palace. They're starting to make their presence felt inside of the Everton half. Lacroix out to the right hand side. Munoz. Wharton lays it off to Richards. Now Lacroix again. Now Canvo again. He's got Mitchell out to his left if he wants, as every single Everton player is currently behind the ball. Back with Lacroix on the edge of the centre circle. Every single player not named Dean Henderson currently inside the Everton half of the field as well. Here is Kamada, left of centre, trying to make space for a delivery from deep. It's very deep indeed, and Munoz was the target, but getting underneath it was Mikilenko. First corner of the evening, or the afternoon rather, for Crystal Palace. Evening might be a bit harsh, it's only 2 o'clock GMT over here, as the clouds form over Selhurst Park. It doesn't look like it's midday, but it is. And the weather changes like the wind in the UK at the moment as we approach the spring months, or the summer months, very soon to come. Wharton with the delivery now from the right hand side. Up goes the arm, and in goes the cross from the Palace number 20, and the flick on is there for Crystal Palace. It was Chris Richards getting underneath it. It loops over the top of the Everton goal. A real mass of bodies in the 6-yard area there. Pickford none the wiser to that situation, flinging an arm up into the air to try and stop it. It does take a nick off Tarkowski as well, the header from Richards. It is going down before it's redirected up over the top by Tarkowski. Second corner then for Palace, on the left hand side this time. Johnson standing over the top of it. Floated deep by Brennan Johnson, too deep in the end, over the top of everybody and right the way out for an Everton goal kick. That was a bit of a waste from the Welshman. That's 10 minutes on the clock. Crystal Palace 0, Everton 1. James Tarkowski, the difference maker in the early stages for David Moyes' team. Goal kick coming up now for Palace. Excuse me, for Everton. Having not even had to defend that corner in the end, really, from Brennan Johnson. Launched away by Jordan Pickford. Brennan Johnson, also a player who scored in a very important final for his team last summer, as Tottenham overcame Manchester United to win their first major piece of European silverware. Confirmed their spot in the Champions League despite finishing 4th bottom in the Premier League table, and as of right now, that may be where they finish again this season. All eyes will turn at 4:30 to the game that is happening between Arsenal and West Ham United, as the Gunners go for glory at the top of the table and West Ham do their best to avoid the drop at the bottom. For now, though, the action is at Selhurst Park, with Merlin Roll down the right hand side. It's pulled backwards now to James Garner. Now back into Everton territory with the goal scorer Tarkowski. Right the way back to Pickford, whose ball forward is ambitious, and Beto looked for a moment like he was going to be a willing runner there as it bounced over the top of the Crystal Palace defence, but the spin of the ball took it right into the feet of Dean Henderson. Here is Chris Richards now for Crystal Palace as they look to play their way out of their defensive third. Adam Wharton. Smart ball over the halfway line into the feet of Ismail Assar, who goes this way and that to try and get around Garner, and the Englishman leaves his leg out. Free kick awarded by the man in charge of this game, who it just now occurs to me I'm yet to mention the name of, Mr. Tom Bramall. He is the referee, and he is accompanied on the VAR by Matt Donoghue. With any luck, we won't have to say either of those two names very much throughout the rest of this game. Crystal Palace free kick now from the edge of the centre circle. Maxence Lacroix standing over the top of it. It's short. And Wharton runs into trouble, and all of a sudden Everton are going to break. It's 2-on-3, but it's a really poor heavy touch from Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall that just lets him down there, as he and Beto were ready to drive right through the heart of the Palace half of the field. Oh, Pickford's come a long way here for a loose ball, and Tarkowski's had to deal with that, holding off Jurgen Strand-Larsen. Well, nearly two major miscalculations for both of these two teams. Wharton giving away possession to Dewsbury-Hall, and he and Beto were ready to drive. It was Brennan Johnson on the recovery, and Palace went right up the other end. Pickford came out for the loose ball. Nearly massively misjudged it, but Tarkowski doing enough to hold off Jurgen Strand-Larsen. And the result now is a Palace throw on the left-hand side, which Chris Richards has come across to take. It's going to be a long throw now from the American. Right the way into the penalty area. Lacroix was the target. Half away by Tarkowski, back out to Richards in a crossing position, running into traffic, Beto standing him up, and the ball goes away off Beto. Another throw in to come, and Chris Richards is ready to take it. For all the talk of who will feature at this summer's World Cup, Chris Richards is almost a shoe-in for the American national team as they host the tournament alongside Canada and Mexico. Thomas Tuchel in attendance at Selhurst Park today to watch any of the England hopefuls. Lacroix with the flick on now off the Richards header, punched into the air by Jordan Pickford. Kamada bringing it down on the edge of the box, now forced further and further back by the pressure of Njai, and all of a sudden Dewsbury-Hall's picked his pocket. Here come Everton now, down the left hand side. James Garner gets it out of his feet across the penalty area, and arriving was Roll, just not in time. He is going to keep this in though, right on the other side of the pitch now. Merlin Roll pulled backwards to O'Brien. Eric Burnham right of centre, weaving away from Kamada. Tim Burnham gets it out of his feet in time before being closed down by Sarr. Released to Mikilenko on the left. Now Dewsbury-Hall. Palace able to get bodies behind the ball, and they're going to force Everton to restart their build-up play with Mikilenko again. He kicks it directly into Munoz, and Wharton tries to bring it down, but he gives it away immediately to James Garner. Garner out to the right for O'Brien. O'Brien forward, Roll on the chase, and Canvo's going to do his best to separate Merlin Roll from the ball, and a little bit of shirt pulling there from the German winger for Everton. Just right under the nose of the assistant referee. leads Crystal Palace to earn a free kick from the left-hand side of their penalty area. Quarter of an hour played at Selhurst Park. Very end-to-end counter-attacking stuff from both of these two teams. It's Everton who broke the deadlock on 6 minutes. James Tarkowski, the man who grabbed the goal. Away it goes now by Dean Henderson from this Palace free kick. Right the way up the field, and Everton do bring it under their control now with Garner on the right. Back to Jake O'Brien. O'Brien sends it forward, chested down by Lacroix. Now Kamada. Mitchell on the left. Gets it out of his feet in time to Johnson, whose delivery into the penalty area is blocked by a sliding James Garner. Doing well to get in the way there for Everton. But in the process he does concede a Crystal Palace corner. Another opportunity to get bodies into the Everton penalty area for Palace. Johnson over the top of this one, offering the right foot. In swinging delivery. And it goes now from Johnson. It's headed down into the ground by O'Brien. Sarr tries to get it out of his feet on the turn on the corner of the 6-yard box. Closed down at source, and the clearance is made for Everton. Not very conclusively. Ismaila Sarr now to Adam Wharton. He gets it back into the danger area. It's dropped into the box and it's going to be fired goalwards. Great reaction save by Pickford to deny Lacroix. And now Everton might be able to spark the counter, because Njai's been able to bring it down after it was launched into the air. Njai in behind to Dewsbury Hall, who gets it out of his feet, and it's a save by Henderson inside the penalty area again. Really end-to-end stuff at Selhurst Park. Big save by Pickford at one end, big save by Henderson at another. Both of these players keenly aware that Thomas Tuchel is sitting in the stands, showing some of their best to stop some one-on-one opportunities. Lacroix denied at close range by Jordan Pickford. Henderson getting in the way of an opportunity for Dewsbury Hall. Mitchell down the line now for Palace. That's easily cut out by O'Brien. Now here is Roll. Back to O'Brien, and it's launched away. Chested down by Beto, who releases it to Garner. Garner out to the left. Mykolenko, space to run into, right the way to the halfway line down the channel. And Jai. Eric Burnham. Eric Burnham back to Mykolenko now at the halfway line on the left. And Jai did just about well enough to avoid showing too much of the ball to Ismaila Sarr and then Adam Wharton, and he does try and get it out of his feet to O'Brien, but there's not enough on it. It's won back by Sarr, and here come Palace in numbers. Here's Jurgen Strand-Larsen. Mitchell on the overlap. He finds Tyrek Mitchell. It's pulled back across towards Ismaila Sarr, and it won't fall for Jurgen Strand-Larsen. Michael Keane gets in the way and makes the clearance. Met by Lacroix at the halfway line. Kamada keeps it going. Daichi Kamada still shows too much of it to Dewsbury Hall, but it bounces off Eric Burnham, looking for Strand-Larsen, doesn't find him. Late challenge made on Tarkowski there. And it's Garner who's down now. Now the referee does just bring a halt to the game and allow people like me to get our breath back, because these two teams are throwing bombs at one another at this stage of the game. Opportunities for Lacroix, Dewsbury Hall. Counter-attacking chances for Strand-Larsen. For Palace, they've just been unable to formulate the shot in the end on that occasion. Plenty for Thomas Tuchel to think about in the stands. Plenty for both Oliver Glasner and David Moyes to consider as well, from what their teams are putting on the pitch at the moment. Here is Iliman Njai. Mykolenko. Seems as though there's a rule against Everton players taking more than one touch at this stage. Here is Jordan Pickford, now the goalkeeper. He does get it out of his feet, right the way to the halfway line, where it's brought down by Canvo. Now here is Munoz. Wharton. Space out on the left-hand side. He spotted it well to Mitchell, who cuts back and finds Kamada. Left of centre. Mitchell back on his feet after a collision with O'Brien. Canvo back to Kamada. Approaching the corner of the box, lays it off to Mitchell. Somebody going to find the space for the delivery. Wharton tries to feed it down the line again to Kamada, who'd stayed in an advanced position, but the two men weren't on each other's wavelength there. And the ball sails beyond Daichi Kamada and out for an Everton goal kick. 20 minutes in at Selhurst Park, Crystal Palace 0, Everton 1. It is James Tarkowski's goal that separates these two teams. And after a very Everton-dominated first 7 or 8 minutes of the match, Crystal Palace has started to grow into things here at Selhurst Park. They're shaking off the hangovers from that Conference League semi-final victory over Shakhtar in midweek. An opportunity for them not just to win the Europa Conference League, but also to qualify for the Europa League next season as a result, something that arguably should have happened last season when they won the FA Cup. They were only stopped from entering Europe's secondary competition by the ownership rules imposed by UEFA because of the majority owner of Crystal Palace also having a large share of Lyon. It was very good news for Nottingham Forest fans at the time, who were bumped from the Conference League up to the Europa League. And they were only eliminated from the competition in midweek by Aston Villa, who claimed their spot in the final against Freiburg. Kamada on the halfway line now for Crystal Palace, left of centre. Here is Mitchell. Cross to Chris Richards. Now it's Lacroix over the halfway line. Wharton in the centre circle. Out to the left for Cambo. Lacroix again. Forward to Mitchell from Camvo, back to Camvo from Mitchell. And a little bit of a slower approach now as Lacroix does fling it forward to Kamada, who lays it off to Wharton. Wharton runs into trouble in the form of Garner, and the referee now awards a free kick against Adam Wharton. James Garner doing well enough to win the ball away from the Palace number 20 cleanly, and then he was impeded in his attempt to run onto the loose ball after the challenge, and Wharton can't believe that the referee Tom Bramall has awarded a free kick in Everton's favour as a result of that. Still shouting something towards the man in blue, the official. Has to be careful, Adam Wharton. No yellow cards brandished in this game as of yet, which is what we like to see. Forward by Pickford now off the free kick. Allowed to bounce. Cambo does well to hold off Jake O'Brien. He made his way very far forward down the right hand side, and the ball bounces out for a Palace throw about 5 yards in front of their own corner flag on the left. Mitchell with the throw. Wharton with the first time clearance. It's going to come down with snow on it here. It's not able to be brought under control by Jürgen Strand-Larsen. Nodded down by Eric Burnham and down the line by O'Brien, looking for roll, intercepted by Mitchell. Everton throw. Halfway in the Crystal Palace half of the pitch. As we are halfway through this first half too. O'Brien's throw. Right the way down the line. Beto holding off Lacroix and Canvo, and eventually it's Mitchell who sneaks in and takes the ball away from Beto, but the final touch there did come off Mitchell as it went out for a throw in. An Everton throw in a promising position on the right hand side of the pitch, about level with the penalty spot. Opportunity for a long throw here from Jake O'Brien, which he is drying off the ball to ready himself for. And it comes now from O'Brien. It reaches the corner of the 6-yard box before being returned to sender by Crystal Palace, and the long clearance is made by Tyrek Mitchell. No prisoners taken. Pickford coming a long way to meet it. Launches it right the way back upfield. It's chested down to Kiernan Dewsbury Hall. It was bouncing a little bit invitingly there for Dewsbury Hall, but he decided against the audacious. About 30 yards away. Instead he turns and finds Eric Burnham, and now here is Mykolenko on the left. Mykolenko floats it into the penalty area. Dewsbury Hall underneath it. Tarkowski stayed forward as well. And it's into the air from Maxence Lacroix. O'Brien with the header into the air for Dewsbury Hall to bring down, and he does. He finds Garner. Garner under pressure on the right hand side. by Brennan Johnson, who was appealing that the final touch there was off an Everton man as it deflects away for a throw-in. Those appeals fall on deaf ears as we tick into the 25th minute of this game at Selhurst Park. Crystal Palace 0, Everton 1. Everton with one or two choice passes here in their own half as they try and play it around the opposition in red and blue. Mykolenko receives it from his goalkeeper Pickford now and returns it to Jordan Pickford. It's blasted out to the right hand side now by the England number 1. Flicked on by Roll, chased by Beto, who got the first touch, but the attempted flick over the top of Lacroix leads to a throw on the right hand side, on the left hand side for Palace, right hand side from an Everton point of view. One thing about Maxence Lacroix, even though he is a centre half, he is a hard man to beat in a foot race. He'll do well to get the ball over the top of him and then chase him down to the loose ball. Eric Burnham, Everton win it back now inside of the Palace half, and Jai with space to run into, laid out to the left hand side. Mykolenko with the first time delivery, and it's just about over the top of the arriving Beto. Eric Burnham was also lurking inside the box there, but it goes over everybody and is mopped up by Mitchell, and Palace will do enough of a job of getting this out of their danger area. Here is Canvo. Maxence Lacroix. Now Chris Richards. Now Lacroix again. Releases it out to the left hand side. Wharton. Back to Lacroix. Now Richards on the right. Happy to keep this to themselves for a moment, Crystal Palace. They've slowed down on the very intense build-up play that has been a bit of a staple of the first 25 minutes of this game. Both of these two teams wasting little time when they have the ball in their feet to try and get it forward. Everton still subscribing to that philosophy for the moment as Pickford gets it out of his hands to the right-hand side, all the way to Roll on the halfway line. But Roll does turn this time and find O'Brien, and now it is returned all the way to Jordan Pickford. And another long clearance made by the England goalkeeper, brought down well by Dewsbury Hall on the halfway line. Got Beto ahead of him, and as well as about 5 Crystal Palace players. And Jai, overlap from Mykolenko if he wants it, on the left hand side. Backwards to Eric Burnham. Nice 1-2 played with Dewsbury Hall. Eric Burnham on the edge of the box. It's a shot that's closed down at source by Maxence Lacroix, but the deflection is a skewered one, and it goes for an Everton corner. He nearly took the corner flag out of the ground there as it was smashed towards it by Tim Eric Burnham. On second glance, did that even take a deflection at all, or did Eric Burnham just get it badly wrong? I think it might be the latter. Just a very wayward strike in the end from Tim Eric Burnham. And the look on the face of David Moyes says it all. What on earth were you thinking? At this stage of his career, he is still technically eligible for the England national team, Tim Eric Burnham. Maybe he was hoping that a wonder strike would help him with his chances of catching the eye of Thomas Tuchel in the crowd this afternoon. Some stiff competition, not just from players of all walks of life in the Premier League, but also from players in his very team. That's of James Garner. Actually, even Kiernan Dewsbury Hall, who's had a very impressive season with Everton this time around, on loan from Chelsea, after failing to really make his mark at Stamford Bridge in recent games, and in fact all season he's been fairly indispensable to David Moyes' team, with 8 goals in the league, which is the joint most of anybody, tied with Beto and Tierno Barry, who's on the bench this afternoon. So goal scorer relatively recently against West Ham in that 2-1 defeat, as well as in draw against Brentford and a victory against Burnley. The first yellow card of the day is going to be brandished here to James Garner. as it was threaded forward by Lacroix. It was Johnson who brought it under his control, and if there's one thing about Brennan Johnson, it's that he's quick, and James Garner knew it. Stuck a leg in trying to sneak in front of Johnson and snatch the ball away. Unable to reach the ball, but he did take plenty of the man. And just for misjudging the situation, Tom Bramwell takes the name of the Everton number 37. Free kick opportunity now for Palace to get the ball into the box as we tick into the half-hour mark of this match. It's going to be Wharton's left-footed delivery, lifted right the way to the back post. Lacroix with the flick on, headed into the air off Tarkowski's head. Helped out of the danger area by Keane as Johnson bundles into Ndiaye. Johnson able to get the cross in, but not a very accurate one. Brennan Johnson convinced that took a nick on its way out off Iliman Ndiaye, but I think those appeals are going to fall on deaf ears here with the hands-on head display from Brennan Johnson in the direction of the assistant referee. You have to really slow it down to see whether or not it does take a nick off one of two Everton shirts, trying to get in front of Johnson now, but Palace aren't dwelling on it. Eric Burnham with a smart challenge on Ismaila Sarr, wins it back on the edge of his defensive third, and it's a good touch by Dewsbury Hall now on the counter to get around Richards. Dewsbury Hall down the line, tries to feed it into the box for Beto, who's arriving, stood up by Lacroix. Everton corner on the left. Kiernan Dewsbury Hall has been at the centre of every single attack that Everton have created for themselves, and I think that was a cheeky nutmeg there on the halfway line to completely take Chris Richards out of the equation. Beto was right up there with him, but Lacroix was in his way. Everton corner kick. This is how they got the opening goal, remember. James Tarkowski was the man who prodded home at the back post. This delivery will come in from the left rather than the right from an Everton point of view. Waiting on the official's whistle here as the bodies spread themselves in the penalty area. It's a right-footed delivery towards the back post, and the header, I believe, was Merlin Rolls in the end, and it definitely came off a body in the box. It was headed down into the ground before looping up into the air. I think it came off of James Tarkowski as well in the end, and went out for a Crystal Palace goal kick. Almost an inadvertently defended corner kick there for the Eagles. It is on them to make an impact on this match at this stage. Forward it goes from Dean Henderson, nodded down by Jurgen Strand-Larsen, held up well by Sarr, who gets the return now from Strand-Larsen. Out to the right hand side for Munoz, back into Ismaila Sarr. It's a daisy cutter, and Sarr gets a second bite of the cherry and smashes it home. Crystal Palace are level. Ismaila Sarr on the score sheet again, just as he was in both legs against Shakhtar Donetsk in the Conference League semi-final, just as he has been 7 previous times in the Premier League this season. That's number 8 for the Senegalese international, just 2 behind Jean-Philippe Mateta now in the Crystal Palace scoring charts for the campaign. Not only was he a key part of the goal with the finish, he was also a key part of the build-up too. Strand-Larsen knocking down a long ball from Henderson. Sarr holds it up, returns it to Strand-Larsen, feeds it out to the right for Munoz, gets the 1-2, and the first shot is a poor one, blocked by Michael Keane, but the rebound is emphatic from Ismaila Sarr. Just over 10 minutes left of the first half to play. Crystal Palace 1, Everton 1. Kick off then for Everton, played back to the goalkeeper Pickford, and it's away down the right hand side by Garner, brought down by Mitchell unconvincingly. Throw in on the right for Everton, about 5 yards back from being level with the edge of the Palace penalty area, and Jake O'Brien might try and take this opportunity to launch another long throw into the box as the fan base inside of Selhurst Park begins to roar again. They've found their way level. O'Brien not opting for the long throw this time. It's to Dewsbury Hall on the corner of the box. He tries to bring it down to Roll. It's won back by Wharton. But Palace aren't able to reach the halfway line before Tarkowski intervenes, but he can only pass the ball directly back into Ismail Assar, who now goes down in an off-the-ball collision with Merlin Roll, who looks none the wiser. Referee awards a free kick Crystal Palace's way. Well, there are two games also happening at the same time as this one in the Premier League. Burnley versus Aston Villa, relegated Burnley that is, and Nottingham Forest playing host to Newcastle United. It's goalless at the City Ground, but at Turf Moor, Burnley upsetting the odds against the newly crowned Europa League finalists in Aston Villa, currently leading by a 0-0, thanks to a strike from Jadon Anthony on minute number 8. First goal of the day in the Premier League coming here at Selhurst Park through Tarkowski. That's been cancelled out by Sarr, and now here come Palace again. Sarr tries to slip it into the middle, gets the return from an Everton defender. Not sure that was intentional. Wharton tries to follow it up on the 25-yard line. Not very comfortably dealt with for Everton again after that shot is blocked. Richards keeps it going. Here is Strand Larsen. Eric Burnham trying to bite at his ankles. Strand Larsen to find Canvo. Wharton, first time out to the left. Mitchell chests it down in plenty of space for the delivery. Mitchell across the floor. It's Jurgen Strand Larsen who tries to make space, and he's bundled to the ground. Plenty of appeals for a Palace penalty fall on deaf ears with the referee, as a challenge is made on Munoz on the right hand side, and the referee does now blow his whistle. Jurgen Strand Larsen still appealing for the spot kick. It'll be checked over by VAR, you have to imagine. It's Jurgen Strand Larsen and James Garner in the box, and it looks like a push with both hands by James Garner there, who might be really, really lucky to get away with this. There's no real intention of getting the ball. There's plenty of intention of getting the man. Well, VAR are not quite going to award a penalty here, but the free kick decision is what's going to stand, and it's an opportunity to deliver into the danger area for Crystal Palace. It's going to be Brennan Johnson, and it's flicked half away, out of danger for Everton temporarily. Lacroix backwards to Mitchell at the halfway line, and now it's Jordan Pickford. Excuse me, it's Dean Henderson. I'll try that again, shall I? Henderson with the ball forward, headed down to Dewsbury Hall by an Everton defender. Dewsbury Hall retreating from an offside position. A free kick not taken full advantage of there. Chris Richards was the intended target, and then as Palace brought the ball back under their control, everybody had their backs to goal. We'll start again now from the halfway line with Wharton. Here's Lacroix. Tries to play it out to the left-hand side for Mitchell, who does get there after the intended challenge of Merlin Roll. And after Mitchell took a second touch, Roll left something on him. Free kick awarded for Crystal Palace, and the referee's not going to give them the chance to take it quickly as Tyreek Mitchell reties his shoelaces. This pause in play just allows David Moyes and Oliver Glasner to have words with one another. They don't look like very pleasant ones either between the two managers. There's a wry smile on the face of David Moyes. And it killed to be a fly on the wall during conversations like that between two managers on the touchline. Free kick taken short by Wharton to Mitchell. His delivery is to Richards, who is in plenty of room. He gets the headed angle all wrong there, Chris Richards. Hard to miss with the big afro hairstyle that he has. Lurking on the corner of the 6-yard box, somehow avoiding everybody wearing Everton colours. To get on the end of that free kick delivery by Tyreek Mitchell. It's a header that loops over the top in the end, and the clearance is now made off the goal kick by Jordan Pickford. There's a bit of a defensive scramble for Crystal Palace to deal with here, as it's a very aimless header forward that Njai chases down, and between Canvo and Lacroix they've just about been able to hold off Iliman Njai chasing down that loose ball in the right-hand side of the penalty area from an Everton point of view. In the end, it's Lacroix who is able to take it away from the Senegalese winger. And Canvo, who's able to dribble it about 30 yards away before a challenge is made on him. That results in a Crystal Palace throw on the left. Throw that's taken by Mitchell. Forward to Strand Larsen, who holds off O'Brien, but the referee seeing something wrong with Jake O'Brien's handling of that situation. He a bit too close to comfort for Tom Bramall's liking with the Crystal Palace forward. And off the resulting free kick they can clear their lines, and they choose to go out to the right hand side before they do that, with Richards sending it forward and Mykolenko holding off Ismaila Sarr. And the ball is bundled out of play in favour of Everton for a throw of their own on the left hand side of their own penalty area. Less than 5 minutes to play at the end of this first half of normal time. Crystal Palace 1, Everton 1. Ismaila Sarr cancelling out James Tarkowski's opener. Either of these two teams find a way through before the half-time whistle. Wharton to Johnson, out to the left for Mitchell, who takes on the shot, and it's saved by Jordan Pickford. Got down quickly and got everything behind it there, Pickford. Left no scraps for the likes of Wharton and Strand Larsen, who were lurking in the penalty area. Tyrick Mitchell in room, approaching the edge of the box, fancied his chances. On his favoured left foot. Jordan Pickford more than equal to it. Head tennis now results in Richards losing possession to Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, laid off to Iliman Ndiaye, and here come Everton into the attacking third now. Space for Garner in the centre of the pitch, out to the right for Roll, who knew that O'Brien was there on the overlap, but so did Tyrick Mitchell chasing him down. O'Brien making just enough room for the delivery. It's a delivery that takes a flick off Tyrick Mitchell on the right hand side, and we're going to see another Everton corner in the closing stages of this first half. It's going to be Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall with the left-footed delivery from the right. Keane and Tarkowski making their presences felt. Beto too. Joint top scorer in the league this season is the number 9. Can he out and out take the lead in the Everton scoring charts here as Dewsbury-Hall delivers, and it's right on top of Henderson, who pushes the ball over his own crossbar. Something he felt he had to do. Was dropping all the way in were it not for the intervention of the Crystal Palace number 1. And now from the other side of the pitch it'll be a second Everton corner. No need for any of the defenders to retreat just yet for the Toffees. This one will be a right-footed delivery from the left. And it's headed down, and it's across from Eric Burnham, and it's held off the line by Canvo. How on earth did that not go in for Everton? About 4 different players trying to get onto the end of that delivery on the corner itself. And there were at least 2 headers that zigzagged into the penalty area. Might drop inside the box now as Beto lays it off to Iliman Ndiaye. Everton keeping it forward. Garner tries to deliver straight into Munoz. Another corner kick for Everton here. Got to have a second look at that corner kick that just resulted in the goal line clearance. So coming in was Tarkowski. The flick on was Ndiaye's. There's the faintest of touches from Dean Henderson, and then it is hooked off the line in the end for Crystal Palace. It's Ismaila Sarr who separates the ball from the goal. Canvo in the way initially with a deflection, and then a faint fingertip from Henderson doing just about enough to take the venom off the header. Allow Sarr to clear his lines, but the Crystal Palace clearance does not result in a sustained period of possession. Less than a minute of normal time at the end of this first half to play, and we're readying ourselves for yet another Everton corner. In it comes by Garner. Flicked onto the back post where Mitchell was lurking. He makes the clearance, headed up into the air by Mykolenko. Roll was going up for it, he couldn't get there, and Palace bring it under their control. On the ground, Strand Larsen tripped from behind. Referee will award a yellow card here, surely to Vitaly Mykolenko. Thumbs up from the Ukrainian international, he knew what was coming. leaving a leg out there on the Palace man. Getting all of the man and none of the ball. There's an initial attempt at the ball, and then there's a second one that decides, well, I'm not going to get that one. May as well take him down. It's Kamada who was tripped. And he is the second Everton player to be carded by Tom Bramall. In fact, he's the second Everton fullback in this game to be carded. Launch forward again. Strand Larsen tries to knock it down to Sarr. Interception made by Keane, and then Njai. Quick feet on the edge of the centre circle to escape from Kamada, but Chris Richards stays with him. And Tyrick Mitchell's going to get in the way, but Njai, determined not to give up the chase, very nearly takes it right the way back from Tyrick Mitchell. In the end, the clearance is made by Canvo down the left-hand channel. As we approach the 46th minute, there was a minute added on at the end of this first half, which means that the throw-in here for Everton might well be the last action of the half. Probably not going to get enough time to cause any problems in the Crystal Palace final third here, as O'Brien readies himself for the long throw. Beto attempting the flick on, goes out for another throw that I don't think the referee is going to allow Everton to take. And there is the half-time whistle at Selhurst Park. It's been an end-to-end game. Both of these teams at periods of this match showing just how much they want what they can still gain in this Premier League season. It was James Tarkowski who broke the deadlock for Everton on 6 minutes after a very dominant start to the game for the Toffees, but they were pegged back 10 minutes from time by Ismail Assar, who bagged his 8th in the season, 8th in the Premier League this season, that is, with a rebound strike inside the penalty area. As of right now, it's on as even, which is no good for either of these two teams, really. A win for Palace is needed to confirm absolute safety in the Premier League. A win for Everton is needed to keep up their European charge. Half-time at Selhurst Park, Crystal Palace 1, Everton 1. Tune in 15 minutes or so for the second half of this live audio coverage. Good afternoon and welcome back to this live audio coverage of this Premier League game between Crystal Palace and Everton. You're tuning in as the second half is readying itself to begin, with both of the teams back out on the field for the second 45 minutes, with the score currently poised delicately at 1-1 after a first half that saw Everton strike first through James Tarkowski before the equaliser came 10 minutes from the break through Ismail Assar. My name is Jay Cooper and I will be your commentator for the next 45 minutes or so to run you through the action from Selhurst Park as both the managers Oliver Glasner and David Moyes make their way to the touchline. It will be Crystal Palace, the home team, who get us kicked off for this second half in their classic home strip, the red and blue striped shirts, the blue shorts and the blue socks. Everton in their creamy white shirts, the black shorts and the creamy white socks. They're going from left to right, the hosts from right to left. And it will be a kick-off taken by the Crystal Palace goal scorer Ismail Assar to get us back underway. Right the way back now to the goalkeeper and captain Dean Henderson. Forward down the right flank looking for Jurgen Strand-Larsen. And Everton are able to bring it down and unable to keep it under their control, however. It's fed into the feet of Brennan Johnson, and Palace getting forward in numbers here in the early stages of this second 45. Tyrick Mitchell on the left, pulls it back to Daichi Kamada. Tries to make space for the cross into the box, and it's Brennan Johnson's header that is very wide indeed of Jordan Pickford's post. Kamada's delivery, a bit of a free header in the end it was as well for the Palace man, just one that he was unable to get the proper redirection on. Held his run ever so slightly as the Everton defenders retreated further into their box. And out it goes for an Everton goal kick. Jordan Pickford with the opportunity to clear away. It was a first half that saw Everton very, very dominant indeed in the first 5 or 6 minutes, and as soon as they got that breakthrough goal through James Tarkowski, Palace woke up, and it appears the Eagles are not keen on repeating that feat again now as Everton get a bit of fortune. Beto into the box, Beto scored! How about that? Everton start the second half in the perfect way again, just as they did in the first. From nothing, from absolutely nothing. I was so confident in talking about how Crystal Palace looked like the team who were going to have the better start to this second half, and one errant ball over the top of the Palace back line, Beto with a well-timed run, and he was in on goal. And a slice of fortune benefited him as he made his way into the box. Lacroix did his best to stand in the way of the Portuguese number 9. He does hold his run just about as the ball is played over the top of everybody. Lacroix can't quite do enough to separate Beto from the ball into the box. He goes left and then right and squeezes it through the legs of Dean Henderson from the corner of the 6-yard area. Well, it would appear that this second half is going to follow the exact same trajectory as the first. These two teams very keen to get the goals against one another. They just need to make sure that they don't concede trying to score, which is exactly what Crystal Palace have done in the first 90 seconds of this second half. Palace will get us kicked off again. Crystal Palace 1, Everton 2, and there'll be a few away fans that probably haven't even made their way back to their seats. They'll have missed that goal. They certainly won't have missed all the cheers coming from the away end at Selhurst Park, though. Noise to shake the stadium from the travelling Everton supporters, who know that European football is still a possibility, especially with two teams in the Premier League who aren't currently in the European spots. Or at least there's one team not currently in the European spots, and that's Crystal Palace in a European final. The other being Aston Villa, currently very much in the race for the Champions League, and if they qualify for that, then their Europa League victory, which they may well obtain after making the final, they'll face Freiburg in that very competition. All that is to say, the door is very much open for the teams in the bottom half of the top half of the table, from 7th to 10th, to claim European football. Chris Richards now. Palace not wasting time trying to get the ball forwards. Richards with the ball from right to left that finds Mitchell on the left-hand side of the penalty area. Pulled back to Kamada. Twists inside here, Daichi Kamada. Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall slides in and makes the clean challenge, and now here goes Merlin's roll for Everton down the right-hand side. He's got Beto ahead of him, and options arriving in reinforcements. Dewsbury-Hall runs into traffic. Won back by Adam Wharton, but only temporarily. Here is James Garner on the right-hand side. Just now occurs to me that I think at the back end of the first half I misspoke on the Everton players that were carded in the first 45 minutes. One of them was James Garner and another was Vitaly Mykolenko, who now heads down the loose ball as it's lifted forward again for Palace. Eric Burnham runs into trouble. Here's Adam Wharton. Now down the right hand side, it's Sarr with the delivery looking for Johnson. Sliding challenge made by Michael Keane. Wharton tries to bring it down. His heavy touch lets him down slightly. Dewsbury Hall gets in the way and is bundled down from behind by Adam Wharton for what will be a throw on the left hand side. A free kick on the left hand side for Everton from a defensive position. Well, anybody expecting a slow start to this second half will have been pleasantly surprised. Everton reinstating their lead within 90 seconds of the kick-off that was taken by Crystal Palace. And that's goal number 9 in the Premier League this season for Beto, that takes him above his teammates in Kiernan Dewsbury Hall and Tieno Barry to be Everton's top scorer in the league this season. Nodded down now by JD Canvo. James Garner gives it away for Everton to Chris Richards for Palace. Palace along the floor trying to get it forward now. It's Kamada who gets it from Wharton. Waits for Garner and Roll to run past him and switches from left to right. Crossing opportunity for Munoz, headed half away for Everton, and this is going to be met by Canvo, and he gets his angles very badly wrong indeed. JD Canvo fancied his chances there. There was a cry of shoot as the Frenchman approached the loose ball. And applause from Oliver Glasner to keep that optimism up, even though they are 2-1 behind. 5 minutes played of this second half. JD Canvo there, an opportunity dropping to him about 35 yards away. He just couldn't resist. No problem at all for Jordan Pickford, who could sit down and have a cup of tea and a cigarette if he wanted and watch that sail very high and wide of his goal. Challenge made now in the Everton attacking third on Merlin Roll, sandwiched on both sides by the combination of Adam Wharton and Daichi Kamada. And Kamada's involvement in that challenge was what drew the ire of the man in charge of this game. It is worth name dropping, Tom Bramall, the referee this afternoon at Selhurst Park, accompanied on the VAR by Matt Donoghue. Free kick from a promising position here for Everton. It's very central and there's quite a bit of distance, call it 30 yards here, between where the ball has been planted and Dean Henderson in between the sticks. James Garner very particular about the way he places the ball down here for Everton. Dewsbury Hall also lurking nearby. He's offering the left foot, Garner the right. It'll be a little bit of a faux wall almost for Crystal Palace here. Just the one-man wall. Two men breaking apart for Everton, and it's a good save to deny James Garner by Dean Henderson. It was swerving from Garner, plenty of power on it, it was accurate. The one that Henderson had to watch all the way as he flung an arm in the air to push that one over the top. Everton corner as a result. Kiernan Dewsbury Hall will take, left-footed from the right-hand side, in swinging. He's got a short option in Iliman Ndiaye if he wants. Ndiaye now retreating into the penalty area, and Dewsbury Hall delivers. It's deep to Tarkowski, who gets the flick on. He's going to chase the loose ball now after the header half away for Palace. Sarr's going to get there first, and he's dragged down from behind by James Tarkowski. Referee with no choice to award a free kick Crystal Palace's way. Handful of claims by the likes of Sarr and Richards that a yellow card should be shown in the direction of the Everton skipper. It looks like less of a shirt pull and more of a tangling of arms. In fact, I think it was a dive from Ismaila Sarr. I believe the referee's indicated in the way of Everton, but the contact on Ismaila Sarr is very, very minimal. Well, the free kick leads to Palace keeping the ball under their control inside their own third. Inside their own box as Beto picks the pocket of Richards. The press there of Beto was just too much for the Palace back line. He followed the ball all the way from Canvo to Lacroix to Richards on the right. And as Richards tried to return it to Lacroix, the challenge was made, and Ndiaye passes it right the way into the feet of Maxence Lacroix to win a corner. via a deflection. This is a very needlessly conceded corner for Crystal Palace. They're kicking themselves if they let themselves concede another goal here. It was a corner that allowed Everton to break the deadlock in this game through James Tarkowski. Beto, who is a very central figure in these set pieces for Everton, is also in there. He got the goal that has reinstated their lead as Dewsbury Hall tries to knock it down on the edge of the box. Half cleared for Crystal Palace, recovered by Eric Burnham. Dewsbury Hall. Now roll back to Garner and now Ndiaye. This way and that to escape from Munoz and Richards. Roll again. Eric Burnham. Mikalenko. Eric Burnham. Everton forced backwards, are going to try and come forward again now. It's a delivery from Garner. It's teasing and it's smothered by Henderson, who had to keep a close eye on that one. Beto was lurking on the edge of the 6-yard box there. Made a well-timed run. Couldn't get anything on it, and Henderson had to make sure that he wasn't going to leave any scraps there for the Everton number 9. And Palace get it away to the halfway line now off the back of that Dean Henderson gathering of the delivery. Richards to Wharton. Wharton out to the left for Mitchell, and now here is Kamada. Now Canvo. Palace need something now. Mitchell trying to make space for the delivery, goes down under pressure from Merlin Roll, who is insistent that there was nothing in that. Referee thinks otherwise. Free kick awarded to Crystal Palace on the left hand side here. It's a free kick that's basically going to act as a corner. Tyrick Mitchell turning away from Merlin Roll, who did stick a leg out. Didn't get any of the ball, did take plenty of the man. James Tarkowski telling his German teammate just to keep his head in the game. Don't let the referee's decision making affect you too much. As Brennan Johnson readies himself for this free kick from the left. Right-footed delivery. Wonder whether Johnson might fancy his chances at a bending strike from a tight angle. Johnson delivers. It's across to Richards, and it's into the air, and it's into the arms of Jordan Pickford, who's quick to launch it all the way over the top of everybody. Brought down by Dewsbury Hall, who's going to get there. Kiernan Dewsbury Hall this way and that. He can't quite hold off Henderson, who reaches for it, can't get both hands on it, and it's scrambled out of danger for Crystal Palace by JD Cambo. And it's a miracle there that Everton weren't able to make it 3-1 for Crystal Palace. Chris Richards with the looping header inside of the Everton penalty area from that free kick. Pickford gathering it with both hands and seeing Kiernan Dewsbury Hall on the run. A massive throw made by the English shot stopper over the top of everybody. Dewsbury Hall got there first, but he just couldn't keep it under his full control as he got into the penalty area. Dean Henderson and his defenders doing just about enough to see off the attack. Now what can Palace do? Brennan Johnson to Kamada. Out towards Mitchell, intercepted by Merlin Roll. Palace throw on the left hand side. That opportunity for Kiernan Dewsbury Hall just a moment ago, that would have allowed him to level things up with Beto in the Everton scoring charts in the Premier League this season. Beto's goal taking him to 9 for the season. Tierno Barry and Kiernan Dewsbury Hall on 8 in the Premier League this season. Crystal Palace's top scorer in the league, in Jean-Philippe Mateta, has been sitting on the bench at this stage for about 58 minutes. I wonder when Oliver Glasner will feel the need to introduce the Frenchman. Here is Munoz. Strand Larsen holds it up and lays it off to Wharton on the right hand side of the pitch. Wharton goes back over the halfway line to Richards, and now it's Lacroix. Lacroix to Canvo, Canvo to Kamada. Richards again, Lacroix again. The slow build-up begins from Crystal Palace. It's been slower than Everton's whenever they've had the opportunity to try and get forward throughout this match. Kamada. Richards in space on the right. Everybody still behind the ball wearing Everton colours. Lacroix. Richards. Lacroix again, and this Everton forward press has forced Palace all the way back to their goalkeeper in Henderson, and he now launches it forward. Strand Larsen underneath it. Brought down by Sarr. Wharton. Kamada, a little bit of space here for Daichi Kamada, who fancies himself. And the strike is high over the top of Jordan Pickford's goal from the Japanese midfielder. So done better with that one, Daichi Kamada. Space presented itself in front of him. Been a few opportunities like that in this game for Crystal Palace, where the player receiving the ball to his feet between the 25 and 35 yard mark or so just couldn't resist the opportunity to strike at goal. More often than not, Jordan Pickford's been able to wave the ball goodbye as it sails high and wide of his net. Kamada, smart ball forward. Johnson driving at the defence. He's been challenged from behind by Eric Burnham, who got it right, and it's going to be dragged away now by James Tarkowski. Is he going to start the counter-attack? Laid off to Dewsbury Hall. Dewsbury Hall backwards now to Mykolenko. An hour gone at Selhurst Park. Crystal Palace 1, Everton 2. Tim Eric Burnham. Everybody for Palace back behind the ball, not including Brennan Johnson, who now does get in front of James Garner on the halfway line. Everton keeping this to themselves now in their own half, with Tarkowski, Mykolenko and James Garner all getting a touch of the ball before it's found its way back to Pickford, and he's the one that eventually goes long down the left looking for Njai, and in the way was Richards. Everton's throw on the left hand side, just inside of the Crystal Palace half. Dewsbury Hall. Mykolenko. Beto holds it up and is forced to run backwards by the press of Maxence Lacroix. Keen to Tarkowski, back over the halfway line, and the chase is on now for Merlin Roll down the right hand side. It's a race that he's going to win because he bundles beyond Cambo to get there, who's appealing to the referee. It's across the face from Roll, and arriving on the edge of the box is Eric Burnham, who's had to readjust. Now it's Garner. Garner lays it off to Mykolenko. Now Njai. Now Dewsbury Hall. Everton keeping it on the edge of the penalty area now. The delivery is Mykolenko's. Beto is the target. It's allowed to bounce inside the Crystal Palace penalty area. Here is Roll. Dewsbury Hall to Garner. Garner into the box for Njai. Intercepted and cleared for Crystal Palace. Tarkowski plays it backwards to his goalkeeper Pickford. Just about releases it in time before a challenge is made by Ismaila Sarr, but it's met by Canvo, and Kamada forces a throw out of James Garner on the left. He takes it quickly now. Here is Mitchell. Adam Wharton right in the centre of the Everton half. Back to the right hand side for Munoz. Now here is Richards. Now Lacroix. Everybody not named Dean Henderson inside the Everton half at the moment. Here is Canvo. Kamada to Wharton again. Richards. Sarr. Wharton, Richards, the slow build-up characteristic of Crystal Palace. Ever since the 25-minute mark or so of this game, they've not been quite as full throttle as Everton whenever they've got the ball. They've tried to be cautious, and maybe that's why they find themselves 2-1 behind. Mitchell. Johnson wriggles into space and gets the delivery off, but Pickford is right underneath it. Inside of the box, Strand Larsen and Sarr were getting into dangerous positions. Forward it goes from Pickford now. Beto trying to get there. Henderson came a long way to meet it with a header. Richards is able to clear. Ball down by Eric Burnham on the halfway line. Away it goes now by Jordan Pickford, the Everton goalkeeper, out to the left for Everton before Njai can reach it. It's been headed out for Crystal Palace, excuse me, it's been headed out by a Crystal Palace player for a throw. It was Munoz underneath it. Now the first substitution of the day is made, and it's made by the trailing hosts. Off goes Jürgen Strand Larsen, and in his place comes Crystal Palace's top scorer in the Premier League this season, Jean-Philippe Mateta, 10 to his name. And with Crystal Palace trailing after 20 minutes of this second half, he'll be very keen indeed to up that tally by at least one. Oliver Glasner rolling the dice. Everton throw on the left-hand side now to be taken by Mykolenko. Remember, a win today for Crystal Palace confirms their safety in the Premier League. A win for Everton takes them to within 2 points of Brighton and Hove Albion, currently sitting in the last remaining Europa Conference League place in the table. Wharton. Here is Tyrick Mitchell. Now Kamada lifts it into the box. Mateta trying to get there, and Pickford had to claw it wide. Good save from Jordan Pickford. It was one of those deliveries that, had there been no touch of the ball from anybody in blue and red inside the box, it might have found a way into the far corner all on its own from Daichi Kamada. Bent into the box. Sarr was in there. Mateta was in there. Keane couldn't get his body in between the Crystal Palace man and Jordan Pickford, who was forced to make a diving save and push it wide. And thankfully sees the funnier side of the resultant collision with Ismaila Sarr as Palace ready themselves for a corner. The delivery is lifted in towards Richards from the right hand side. Left-footed cross by Wharton. He's going to get it back now as Everton failed to conclusively defend. Wharton's delivery ricocheted in the box. Mateta going for the header. There's a man down for Everton. The referee says nothing about it. Here comes the counter. Merlin Roll driving away for Everton. Switches from right to left, looking for Ndiaye, who brings it down just about out of reach of Munoz. Ndiaye holds off Wharton. Iliman Ndiaye looks to strike it from an angle. Closed down at source by Tyrick Mitchell, and he can now drag Palace forward, twisting away from Eric Burnham on the edge of the centre circle, able to lay it off into the feet of Adam Wharton. Now Kamada, bodies back for Everton as Palace make their way into the Everton half. Here is Canvo. Now Johnson, trying his best not to show too much of the ball to James Garner. Turns and gives it back to Canvo on the left-hand side here, Brennan Johnson. Lacroix. Out to Munoz on the right. Now it's Canvo again. Now Lacroix again. Now Richards. Play slowing down as Palace try and start again. Here is Kamada. In the centre of the Everton half, out to the left for Canvo. Mitchell takes a heavy touch to escape from Merlin Roll, lays it off to Kamada. Kamada backwards to Lacroix. Lacroix to Richards. Richards out to the right hand side. Munoz to Sarr. Sarr's delivery is deflected. Yet another Crystal Palace corner. They're keeping on the pressure at this stage, the Eagles. Not willing to let this game get away from them. It took them till within the final 10 minutes of the first half to find an equaliser then. Ideally they'd like one much earlier in the half this time around. Everton still hold all the cards as the delivery is floated in by Wharton. It's deep. Munoz with a header. And it's flicked on by Canvo and smothered by Pickford. It was creative, that, from Crystal Palace. Right off the training ground. Wharton to the edge of the box. Munoz heading it back into the area from the edge of the box. Canvo may well have been lurking in an offside position there as he got the flick on, but in the end it didn't matter because Jordan Pickford was all over it. It's going to be an Everton throw on the right hand side now, wasting no time getting it right the way up the field in the final third. Kamada under the impression that it was a Crystal Palace throw there, as Canvo and Rull went toe-to-toe, and the final touch was... Actually, it's very contentious as to who the final touch came off, because Rull slides in and the ball pings up off a combination of the legs of both players. Well, Everton are readying themselves for their first change of the afternoon, and it's going to be a mirror of that of Crystal Palace's. Their starting striker is replaced by their top scorer, or a man who was one of their joint top scorers in the Premier League coming into this game, in Tieno Barry. He's been eclipsed now by Beto, who is removed from the field of play. Barry brought on, number 11 for Everton. 8 goals in the Premier League this season. Keen to make it 9 and extend Everton's advantage. Throw in to come now from Jake O'Brien on the right hand side. It's essentially going to act as a cross, this throw from the Irish fullback to the corner of the box, flicked up into the air, and up goes Barry for the header. It's not going to drop for anybody in white inside the penalty area. Sliding challenge made now in a defensive position by James Garner, that goes out for a Palace throw on the right, about halfway inside of their own half of the pitch. Taken by Munoz, back to Richards. Beto was so keen to press at these stages now. Tieno Barry with the fresh legs, you would imagine he's going to do exactly the same. Richards again on the right, allowed to approach the halfway line. Plays it across to Lacroix, and Barry gives chase. Leaves it to Dewsbury Hall now as Canvo drives forward for Palace, able to get it out of his feet to Johnson. Johnson to Wharton, 35 yards from goal, very central, lifts it out to the right hand side. Gets the return from Munoz. Adam Wharton lifts it into the penalty area, and the chase was on at the back post for Tyrek Mitchell, just a bit too much on it from one England hopeful to another. It amazes me now it's taken me this long, 72 minutes into this game, almost half an hour into the second half, to mention that the England manager Thomas Tuchel is in attendance at Selhurst Park this afternoon. He was a fixture of the cameras throughout the first half as well. These players who want to make their presences felt for the national team at the 2026 World Cup will be hoping to impress the England manager. They're having fewer and fewer chances to do so as we close down the 2025-26 Premier League campaign. Everton still with European football on the mind. Crystal Palace the same, but not because of their league position, because at the end of the month they will battle Rayo Vallecano of Spain for the opportunity to win the UEFA Europa Conference League and confirm their qualification for the Europa League in 2026-27. European adventure that many of those Eagles supporters are keen to continue. Everton throw on the right hand side now, just about inside of the Crystal Palace half, to be taken by Jake O'Brien. Forward it goes, and Barry trying to use that imposing frame to barge the ball out of the way of JD Canvo, but he concedes a throw in the process. Concedes a free kick in the process, and Tyrek Mitchell was just as dumbfounded as I was there that the decision wasn't to throw in. He needed to be reminded by the assistant that Barry was a bit too hands-on with Canvo, who he leaves the free kick for now. Away it goes by JD Canvo down the left and centre of the pitch. Walked down by Wharton. Richards gives it away. Intercepted on the halfway line by Iliman Ndiaye, who goes down the left hand side, not quite with his usual explosive pace, Iliman Ndiaye, allowing Palace players to get back. Everton play their way into their defence as well, with Tarkowski and Keane, and now O'Brien on the right. Gives it back to James Tarkowski. Tarkowski taking no prisoners, with Jean-Philippe Mateta lurking nearby, rolling it back to Pickford, who sends it long. And the flick-on attempt from Rull is going to find Barry on the right-hand side of the penalty area, who tries to just barge his way beyond Canvo. He's forced to turn and finds Dewsbury Hall now on the corner of the box. Dewsbury Hall to Garner, still on the right hand side. Jake O'Brien tries to make space for the cross. Tyrrell Mitchell gets in the way, throwing for Everton on the right, and O'Brien will ready himself for another Rory Delap-like delivery into the penalty area. 15 minutes to play of this game of normal time between Palace and Everton, and it remains 2-1 to the visitors at Selhurst Park. Crystal Palace readying themselves for another substitution. Jefferson Lerma stripped and ready, receiving his instructions from the coaching staff. O'Brien will take this throw before anything else. It's a deep delivery. It's flicked on and not flicked away by Palace. It's helped out of the danger area by Sarr, and then Mitchell, who blasted into Eric Burnham but gets a second opportunity to clear, and Mateta trying to hold it up is unable to get there ahead of Tarkowski. Dewsbury Hall with the flick on, brought down by Richards, released by Johnson, and now here is Wharton. Can Crystal Palace attack? Munoz back to Wharton. Kamada, 25 yards from goal, left of centre, out to the left hand side of the box for a cross from Mitchell. First time that's deflected and then cleared by Michael Keane. Cleared out to Canvo, who brings it down. Kamada into the centre for Wharton. Wharton lifts it into the box, floated towards Mateta, who chests it down. Sarr on the turn, can't get it out of his feet. He tumbles to the ground, and there's a few more shouts of penalty from Crystal Palace fans, and they're all going to fall on deaf ears with the referee, Tom Bramall. Crystal Palace need to carry on. VAR is in effect today. Mike Donoghue is the man who will be looking at all of this action on the screen in the VAR van. Kamada forward. Mateta gets there first on the chase with Tarkowski. Now Wharton into the final third, out to the left hand side. Canvo arriving. Canvo out to the left. Mitchell. Can he make space for the cross? Gets around Merlin Roll in towards Sarr, and it's smashed in by Mateta. That is the impact that Oliver Glasner was hoping he would make. Jean-Philippe Mateta on 77 minutes ties the game again for the Eagles. That's 11 for the season for the big Frenchman. In exactly the right place at exactly the right time. Mitchell's delivery trickled across the Everton penalty area, missed by Sarr. Mateta had to readjust. He had to retreat 1 or 2 steps from the edge of the 6-yard box to get there. But on the turn, it's a merciless finish right into the roof of Jordan Pickford's goal, who barely saw it as it flashed past him. And the noise levels rise again at Selhurst Park. Crystal Palace 2, Everton 2. Everton will get us back underway now with the kick-off, and their approach every single time they've had one is roll it back to Pickford and smash it forward, and that's what they've done again. Barry with a knockdown. Eric Burnham to Mikolenko on the left, who's forced to turn and now finds Tarkowski on the halfway line. Tarkowski back to Pickford, and they might try again. Jordan Pickford with the long ball forward, opts for the right channel this time, not going to find Jake O'Brien, who'd stayed forward, over the top of everybody, throwing for Palace, but I think before that happens we are going to see a change. Well, maybe we're not, because Lerma, the manager Oliver Glasner, was indicating to the fourth official that he wants a substitution to be made, but Lerma remains sat on the bench in his full strip. Throw and taken then, Everton with the ball under their control. Barry with a smart turn, 35 yards or so from goal on the right hand side. Roll gets it into the middle for Dewsbury Hall, and they approach the edge of the box now with Njai, who has his pocket picked by Munoz. Now Richards. Richards doesn't want to show too much of the ball to Dewsbury Hall here on the edge of his own box. He does find Munoz, whose first time clearance was a bit more of a emergency one there. He kept it in touch just about on the right hand side of the pitch for Crystal Palace, and they do keep it under their control with Kamada and Mitchell, and now it's Canvo. Daisy cutter into the feet of Wharton, who lays it off to Richards. And Palace slowing things down to their preferred pace now. Here is Wharton again. Kamada gets the return from Johnson. Wharton. Richards over the halfway line now. Here come Palace down the right. Richards lays it off to Munoz. Back to Richards. Kamada turns 30 yards away. Didn't fancy himself under pressure from Eric Burnham. Instead he lays it off to Canvo, who lifts it deep into the box. The header across the face is a good one, and it's headed into the ground and into the arms of Pickford by Ismail Assar, arriving right on cue. Brennan Johnson unmarked at the back post. Very smart to redirect the cross to the edge of the 6-yard box. Ismail Assar made his mind up very early for the diving header attempt. Jordan Pickford was right behind it, well placed to get both hands on it there. The Everton number 1. Clearance made and results in a Palace throw on the left. I think we're finally going to see these substitutions now. Well, at least one of them, because there's a delay as Merlin Roll makes his way around the pitch, past those travelling Everton supporters, to a round of applause. And Jefferson Lerma is now finally allowed to be introduced to the game. And the Everton change as well is going to see the replacement of Roll with Terrick George. Brennan Johnson is the man brought off the field for Crystal Palace. That's one change for both of these two teams now. Both of them have made 2 of their allotted 5 with 10 minutes to play of this game. You have to imagine that should there be one more goal for either of these two teams, that the substitutions would then start to come thick and fast for whoever it is that gets what could well be a decisive goal. Chris Richards to take a throw on the left-hand side. Less than 10 minutes of normal time to play at the end of this match. Richards gearing up for the long throw now. It's about 35 yards from the corner flag, Chris Richards here. He's got an almighty throw if he wants to reach the penalty area. Fancies his chances, the American. In it goes now from Richards. It does make it into the box. It's headed back where it came from by Eric Burnham. Richards touches it down and lays it off to Terrick Mitchell, and Mitchell goes back to his goalkeeper Henderson. Henderson launches it back forward now, trying to keep the Crystal Palace attack going. Can't find Mateta, but the header away for Everton doesn't do them many favours. This is going to fall for Wharton 25 yards away. Wharton tries to find Munoz, and a sliding challenge by Sarr results in a free kick, much to the chagrin of the majority inside Selhurst Park. I think the camera shook there with the howls of derision for the challenge made by Ismail Assar on the Everton man. Perhaps the appeal is because Ismail Assar himself was tripped in the penalty area earlier in this half, and the referee ignored the penalty claims. Happened in the first half as well for Crystal Palace after a push by James Garner inside of the penalty area on Jürgen Strand-Larsen. Well, whatever the case, Crystal Palace do win a free kick now, but they're deep inside their own half, and it's because of a scramble for a loose ball between Iliman Ndiaye and Jefferson Lerma, the newly introduced substitute, who did well to separate Senegalese international from the ball and was climbed on top of as a result, and the referee saw something wrong with it, as you would expect. Long clearance made now by Henderson. Flicked on by Munoz, brought down by Mateta, who holds off Mykolenko. Mateta now into a crossing position. Sarr brings it down on the corner of the 6-yard box. He can't turn and get the shot away, not before the clearance is made, and the referee's just going to hold up play now for an offside against Ismail Assar. And I think he's also going to encourage the Everton medical staff to get on the field for Mykolenko, who got on the wrong end of Jean-Philippe Mateta there. The delivery was good. The first touch just let Sarr down. It wouldn't have mattered anyway with the assistant's flag going up, but at the end of the day, you put the ball in the net and then you ask the question, was I offside? Ismail Assar unable to do one before the other was answered for him. Everton free kick now from inside their own penalty area to be taken by Pickford. Nobody around. It's going to be a long clearance. Mykolenko's back to his feet after that collision, and away it goes now by Jordan Pickford. Nodded down by Lacroix, chested down now by Kamada, and it's Wharton who lifts it into the air, and it's touched down by Lerma down the left. He's got Sarr ahead of him. Jefferson Lerma into the feet of Kamada, who stayed forward. He goes down as he gets into the box. The referee thinks about it and again says no. That's penalty claim number 3 for Crystal Palace in this game, and they are not going to be happy the next time a game comes around in the Premier League and they read that Tom Bramall is the referee. Once again it will be checked over. Kamada getting into the penalty area. There's light pressure from behind by Tim Iragbunam. Kamada has one thought in mind there as he approaches the box, and that's to get in and then go down. I think the contact, there is some of it, but it takes place largely a fraction outside of the box before Kamada takes a tumble. Well, certainly the one in the first half could be contentious, but that one perhaps not so much. I think Tom Bramall's got that bang on. The result is an Everton goal kick, cleared away by Jordan Pickford, flicked on for Everton towards Dewsbury Hall. Garner now heads it forward towards Barry, who does just about enough to find Ndiaye, who can't wriggle out of the grasp of Mitchell and Kamada. Between them they win it back for Palace and they get it forward. Now Kamada to Sarr. Sarr able to get it out of his feet, but he forces Mateta wide. Mateta, Lerma. Thought about a cross-come shot from deep on the left-hand side. Instead he turns and finds Mitchell. Mitchell back to Lerma. Lerma to Canvo. Canvo back to Lerma. They're going to find the delivery. Kamada. Further and further infield from the left-hand side now, and now it's out towards the right by Wharton to Richards. And now Munoz, and he does waste no time with the delivery. And it's Mitchell at the back post, and it's just about over the top of Ismaila Sarr, who was lurking. He and Mateta and Mitchell all waiting in the box. And the header came off the number 3, and it was one that needed redirecting by Ismaila Sarr. But it bounces just too high for the man who's already scored in this game for Crystal Palace. He got the first equaliser of the day for the Eagles. He could have got the goal to put them in front with less than 5 to play of normal time. If he was just 2 or 3 inches taller, he might have made it. Oliver Glasner with a clap. He applauds his team and their determination not to give up on this game. Still plenty of time to find a decider. Crystal Palace 2, Everton 2 at Selhurst Park. A goal from Tarkowski cancelled out by Sarr. A goal from Beto cancelled out for Crystal Palace by Mateta. Dean Henderson with the clearance now for Palace. Mateta on the chase as to where it might land, but Tarkowski's underneath it. Chested on by Garner, straight into Wharton. Now Kamada, overlap from Mitchell if he wants it. Kamada challenged from behind by Garner. Referee standing right over the top of it, says he got it right. And Jai keeps it to himself for long enough to find Dewsbury Hall, who lays it off. Now here is Tariq George. He's not had much to do since his introduction about 10 minutes ago, but here he goes now. George runs into traffic, tripped up by Lerma. Referee says no free kick. Everton win it back on the halfway line, and it's a deflected ball over the top that Barry's going to chase down. He's been brought down, but Dewsbury Hall's in! Dewsbury Hall hits the post from 6 yards. How on earth did that not go in? Oh, the offside flag's up anyway. What a miss. What a moment in this match as well. It was very inadvertent. Tarkowski sends a smash and grab deflected ball, and I'm not sure what goes on here, but Barry's the man in the offside position, and Canvo barges him out the way, gets his angles all wrong, doesn't make the clearance. Dewsbury Hall picks his pocket and then misses. I think the offside is against Tieno Barry, who did chase the loose ball before being barged out of the way by the Palace defender. VAR would have had an almighty look at that one as to whether or not Tieno Barry's involvement made a difference, because it seems as though Canvo has a complete control of the situation and then just gives it up to Dewsbury Hall. At the end of the day, he struck the post. Wharton forward now. Can Palace create something? Lerma gets it into the feet of Sarr, who's barged out of the way by Tarkowski, who makes the half clearance back to Lerma. Now here is Canvo. Blushes spared just a minute ago by the offside flag. Wharton. Back to JD Canvo now. Lacroix. Across to Richards, the only 2 men inside of the Crystal Palace half at the moment, not named Dean Henderson. Richards. Here's Munoz on the right. Back to Chris Richards, back to Adam Wharton now, edge of the centre circle. Kamada delivers into the danger area, nobody in blue and red in a promising position though. It is going to bounce all the way through to Mitchell here. Can he find space for the delivery? Mitchell. This way and that, trying to hold off Iliman Ndiaye, who's back doing his defensive duties. JD Canvo, Adam Wharton, space for the shot, a goal! Oh, it's hit the post! Jordan Pickford very happy to brush off that opportunity there. Had it covered, he says to his defenders. Adam Wharton, with a rocket from 25 yards, completely wipes out the base of Jordan Pickford's post, and that's a massive sigh of relief for the travelling Everton contingent. What a hit that is from Wharton, and Pickford's nowhere near it. And that sound of the ball smashing against the woodwork echoes around Selhurst Park. They thought they had it there. Adam Wharton thought he'd won the game for his team. Well, there's still time yet. We're 20 seconds from the fourth official's board going up. Is there a winner to be found in this game? Clearance made by Pickford, headed back where it came from by Richards, and now the head tennis begins. Mateta goes up to beat Keane in the air, but it's Mikalenko who lifts it back. Richards with the knockdown. Lerma. Here is Wharton. Forward it goes now from Wharton for the chase of Sarr. It's going to go over the top of Ismaila Sarr, and it's going to be gathered by Jordan Pickford on the left-hand side of his box. And this game is far from over. The fourth official's board has been raised. 5 more minutes yet to go. There's time yet. Pickford with the clearance now for Everton. Met by Richards. Chased by Kamada. Won back by Tarkowski. Brought down by Garner, who runs into traffic. Here is Wharton on the edge of the centre circle, inside of his own half. And now Canvo allowed to drive towards the right-hand side of the pitch, then realises he's lost his way slightly. Back to Richards, and now it's Wharton inside the centre circle. Wharton looking for Lerma, a bit too much on it. Irugburn wins it back. Here is George, and here comes the Everton counter. Terrick George, good feet. And there's plenty of space for Ndiaye. Down the right-hand side, it's Iliman Ndiaye. It's over the top of the crossbar. Really should have done better there, Iliman Ndiaye. He's become so reliable in key moments for Everton, and that could have been a very decisive moment indeed. In fact, it's a save by Dean Henderson at full stretch. He does just about enough to tip it over. Everton corner then. The chance isn't spurned just yet. And Ndiaye found himself in plenty of room, right of centre on the edge of the box. Had the space to get the shot away. Forces a good reaction stop out of Henderson. Dewsbury Hall with the corner. In it goes. It's away by Richards. It's going to be picked up now by Mikalenko. Back to Dewsbury Hall. Garner. Back to Dewsbury Hall, who's got in behind Munoz. Dewsbury Hall gets it out of his feet. And Ndiaye. Garner again on the corner of the box. There's the delivery towards the back post. Tarkowski into the arms of Dean Henderson. Food and drink in the end for the Palace number 1, and he wastes no time with the clearance. Trying to get underneath it is Kamada. Back where it came from for Everton. All the way back to Dean Henderson, and now he's going to roll it out instead of smashing it forward. Richards. Wharton. Out to the left for Terrick Mitchell. Canvo trades passes with Lerma on the halfway line. Now it's Lacroix, put under pressure by Tieno Barry. We've played half of the extra 5 minutes at the end of this game as Lacroix holds off Barry long enough to find Kamada. Kamada with the ball in behind. Mateta's on the chase. He's got there. Jean-Philippe Mateta. It's wide. The chances keep coming at the end of this game. Jean-Philippe Mateta latching onto a very smart ball indeed by Daichi Kamada, who was clattered into as he released it from the edge of the centre circle. Mateta using his frame to just power away from Tarkowski, but the angle was too tight and he couldn't lift it into the corner past Pickford. Everton goal kick now, but not before one more change is made. Kiernan Dewsbury Hall is replaced for the final 2 minutes of this added 5. Charlie Alcaraz comes on. If there is a winner to be found, can you just imagine if it was him? What a substitution that would appear to be from David Moyes. Away it goes now by Jordan Pickford. 90 seconds of the additional 5 remaining. And after that clearance. The referee's just seen something wrong here. I'm not sure what it is. The game's been held up. What are we doing, he asks his team of officials. And the goal kick is going to be retaken. That's curious. You don't see that very often. Oh, we'll try again. Jordan Pickford with a shrug of the shoulders. And there goes 30 seconds. As Pickford sends it forward again. And for whatever reason, the game is being held up again. I think is there a second ball that keeps being thrown onto the pitch or something to that effect? Well, it's sent right the way back to Pickford again. Well, this goal kick has just been retaken twice for reasons unclear. What a very, very anticlimactic way to end this game this will be, if nothing comes now of the remaining 30 seconds that has just been wasted. Well, the game is allowed to proceed now after this goal kick. Whatever the referee saw wrong with the first two has not happened for a third time. Mitchell. Is there one more opportunity for either of these teams now? Mitchell right into the frame of Jake O'Brien. Throw in just inside the Everton half. Is the referee going to let the game run for another minute, do you think, for that goal kick nonsense? Mitchell into the centre for Wharton. Here is Canvo. Well, that's 95 on the clock, and the game's going to proceed for now. Here is Richards. Out to the right-hand side. Munoz. Sarr, corner of the box. Ismaila Sarr to Jefferson Lerma. First time. Blasted into Alcaraz, who makes the block. Canvo brings it down just inside of the Everton half. Under pressure from Barry, who wins it back cleanly. Here comes the Everton counter. Tierno Barry, joined by Alcaraz. Plenty of bodies getting back for Crystal Palace. Alcaraz with a deflected shot. It's going to go for a corner kick. This is it. Last chance saloon now for Everton. Charlie Alcaraz, the substitute, winning the corner that will surely be the last action of this game as we approach minute number 96. James Garner's readying himself to take this one from the left-hand side. Jordan Pickford's not bothering. He's not risking it. But everybody else is getting into the Crystal Palace penalty area now. Up goes the arm. And in comes the cross now from James Garner. It's flicked down and Mitchell's going to chase it with Alcaraz, and Mitchell gets there first. And as it's seen out for an Everton throw, the referee calls time on this game at Selhurst Park. A shake of the hands between Oliver Glasner and David Moyes. It's honours even in London as the players make their way over to the referee to say what on earth happened there at the end. But ultimately these two teams have been very good value for money for the result. They've been as good as one another throughout this match, and there were chances for both to get a winner at the end. But an early goal in the first half for Everton by Tarkowski was cancelled out by Ismaila Sarr 10 minutes from the half-time whistle. And a very early goal in the second half for Everton from Beto was cancelled out just shy of 15 minutes from time by Jean-Philippe Mateta. Crystal Palace with another point on the board. Safety all but officially confirmed at this stage. Everton's European hopes have taken a hit, but there is time to course correct. 3 games left in the Premier League for both of these teams after this fixture that has finished at Selhurst Park. Crystal Palace 2, Everton 2. Thank you very much for tuning into this live audio coverage. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you. I've been Jay Cooper, and we'll see you very soon for some more live football action. Goodbye for now.